HRN listeners. As we celebrate our 15th year, we are deepening our commitment to giving voice to the next generation of food systems storytellers, and we need your help. Our internship and fellowship programs help activate new possibilities for underrepresented and underestimated young people through experiential journalism, audio engineering, and production training. Through these unique programs, HRN helps food equity stewards build essential workforce readiness skills that expand their potential and foster economic mobility. Please consider supporting these critical programs. And with a minimum donation, you can be entered to win a dinner for two at an amazing restaurant in one of 8 cities and tickets to a concert at a great venue in one of those cities. We have incredible partners across the country who have donated, as they also share our passion for helping to educate the next generation of food systems storytellers. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. And make sure you donate before March 31st. Thank you.
Welcome back to Heritage Radio Network on Tour. We are broadcasting live from Feast Portland, Day 2. I'm Caity Moseman Wadler, Executive Director of HRN. And just before we kick things off, we'd like to thank Travel Portland, as well as Stream PDX and the Julia Child Foundation for making our coverage of Feast possible. So I'm really excited right now to be joined by Peter Cho. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Peter you developed an intuitive grasp of cooking from your Korean immigrant mother, and then cut your teeth at the Spotted Pig, and then took over at the Breslin as executive chef. And now you are back in Portland, so we're now in your home base where you're running Han Oak out of your home. Yeah. So I'm really excited to hear a little bit more about this. Can you just talk first about kind of coming back to Portland from New York and what that has kind of meant for you as a chef?
Yeah, well, my move back was definitely just to be with family. So my mother got sick, and I pretty much just dropped everything. At that time, I'd probably been working for April, almost 10 years. Yeah, and I just dropped everything, went home, and I had been visiting Portland for, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so before that. And every year I would see sort of the growth as far as the food scene and restaurant scene goes. But yeah, as soon as I moved back, I just sort of focused on family and spent as much time with my parents as possible. My brother was also here, and his wife and 2 kids. And so we just like packed in all the family time that I feel like I kind of missed out on in the 13 years I lived in New York. So yeah, but yeah, we found the space, and it was my wife who found it, and we've just been slowly and steadily growing it ever since.
So can you describe the building that you're in and how you have sort of achieved a home and a restaurant space in one there? Yeah,
well, it was sort of my wife, it was her vision as she saw it in the Craigslist ad when she found it, but really it goes back to my landlord, who's a real estate developer in town, and he sort of laid the foundation for what we built on it. He took over this old garage, like old Dodge dealership or something, I don't know, some car dealership that pretty much took up that whole block. So the space had already had all these big openings, garage door openings, and so he was the one that sort of envisioned this sort of micro restaurant pod with this retail spaces in front, butcher shop and little pie spot, and he lived inside with his family. And so I think, just seeing that immediately, we're like, oh wow, that's amazing. Him and his wife and 3 kids lived there. And had all this, sort of food-related happenings just outside. So yeah, that he really was a visionary for that. But when he laid the foundations and sort of laid the bricks in the walls, and we just have slapped our things on it.
Do you find that there is some level of separation between kind of your work time and family time, and does that actually allow you to have more time with your family, or does it all blend into one kind of life?
Oh, no, it definitely blends in completely. 'Cause there isn't, especially with the kids, they're 4 and 1.5, so, or almost 4 and 1.5. So it's like at that age, I think it's just, they're just running around wherever they want, pretty much. So there isn't a lot of, hey, I got to go to work. Like, I have to sort of step in and out and back and forth. It's just nice that I don't have to like go to another space. It's really just a few paces and I'm home. So
yeah.
Well,
that beats I think most people's commute.
The commute.
Yeah,
Totally.
How much does so of course being close to family is obviously really important to you. How much does sort of your family and the food that you grew up with play into the menu that you have now at Hanok?
Yeah, obviously I didn't do much Korean cooking professionally, right? So, I mean, I've only worked professionally for one chef. So as I moved back and sort of got reconnected, and obviously my mom's cooking and influence plays a huge part at Hanok, right? But yeah, I mean, I think I'm still in the process of rediscovering Korean food, but also developing my own style. So I think like even what's been great about Hanok is that it's small enough, and it's sort of, I always say it's like nimble enough that I can sort of change things on a dime. I don't have to like, there isn't it's not like a big boat that takes a while to move around, So when we first started, it was like 2 days a week, and then just for fun we added a brunch, and then 6 months later we started doing a dumpling and noodle focus night, and so along the way the menu has sort of followed that path as well. So when I first started, it was very Korean, and I tried to keep it as traditionally Korean with sort of my cooking background as possible. But there's obviously Japanese and Chinese food influence, because those are things that I just discovered as a cook and enjoyed a lot living in New York and traveling to LA. And so yeah, I mean, I think the menu now has become sort of followed that path, my career path, really.
And I mean, just in your first year, you've gotten a ton of amazing recognition. I mean, you're talking about kind of the evolution, but during that time, you've gotten Best New Restaurant recognition from the Beard Foundation, Eater, Thrillist, GQ, and you were just recently one of Food and Wine magazine's Best New Chefs.
Yeah.
So you, obviously, people are loving what you're doing. Has there been like any feedback or any like part of that recognition that has just like been the most meaningful to you, or has changed how you feel about sort of what you've started here in Portland?
Oh man, I mean, every time we have been recognized, it's mind blowing, especially because I mean, we just sort of have always done it in a way that's like, not going for those things, I guess. We just it was like for survival, really. But I think like a lot of that sort of culminated with the Food and Wine Best New Chef, especially with having worked for April and having been there at the time, that and seeing how much that sort of propelled her career. And it also fell on the 10-year anniversary of her being named of Best New Chef. It's funny actually, because I was like just doing my daily whatever, like random like errands, running around. I was shopping. I was like in a store, and I got a call from a New York number that I didn't recognize, and I never really answered it, but I don't know why I did. And I answered, and it was Nilu, and she told me to go find a quiet place, and I literally I fell to my knees. I was like, oh, crap. It was shocking for sure. So I think that was, definitely I knew that was going to be that was the one that really floored me
Yeah.
most.
And did that at that moment, did that change like anything about how you felt about Hanok and sort of the direction that you've chosen?
Well, it obviously it obviously made yeah, to solidify it, I guess. Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
reassuring,
I mean,
right?
it was for sure reassuring. I think, again, it was up until then. We have just been doing as much as we could with the 2 days, or I think by then it was 4 days. But I don't know. I guess I'm still like in a reflective mode now. I don't really think about it or talk about it too much, but yeah, when I do, I do have to pause and kind of reflect on it and think about it. It's still like, I don't know, I still feel a little bit, especially with Dana sitting over there. Hi.
Hi, Dana.
Yeah, it's an incredible honor.
It's amazing to sort of like see you talk about it and clearly how impactful that's been, and it's just an amazing and well-deserved honor.
Thank you.
And so
it's funny though, because I feel like I was saying, you know, I worked very closely with April, and I saw all the things and experienced a lot of those things with her. And so when it happened for me, I still didn't like, it didn't click that it was for me. I still felt like I was like a sous chef for somebody else who was receiving those awards. So yeah, it's still a little bit like I still don't believe it.
It's still sinking in.
Yeah.
Well, kind of speaking of reconnecting with chefs you've worked with in New York, last night you pulled off an incredible dinner with Angie
epic.
Marr. Tell us about it. Tell us about the event itself, and then maybe like a few favorite things about the experience of getting back together and cooking with Angie.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, you know, it's for me, we never really leave Portland, so it's nice to be able to watch everybody's career from afar through, you know, various social media. But so we crossed paths. So I think she started at the Pig when I was leaving to open the Breslin or something like that. I feel like the timeline is still a little foggy for me. But I do remember when she was there, and I remember she left and moved on and then started doing all her, you know, her rise. But you know, when we first talked, we were like, yeah, how can we not like showcase what she does at the Beatrice Inn? And for me, Korean cooking is all about the big show is the meat, right? And so all the panchan plays a accompanying role. So I just tried to stay out of the way, especially with that A-frame that they set up in the side yard. It was incredible. Huge raging fire. They smoked these massive ribs over the fire for it was a good 12 hours. And then my mom made a special batch of kimchi, like whole heads of Napa, and so we just sort of quartered that and hung that on hooks.
I saw a picture of
next
that.
to that, yeah,
gorgeous.
And you know, I mean, you know, you just go, well, of course that's going to go well together. So as planning was obviously like, yeah, that's awesome, let's do that. But then like then at the end of the night, after all that planning and then, you know, service and then sit down, we actually like shared a bite, and she made a little sam for me, and like, you know, it was incredible. It was fun. Yeah,
that's awesome. And it was a beef steak, right? So did everybody eat with their hands? And
oh yeah, there's like rib bones everywhere. There's like the whole ducks were roasted and kept everything bone in, and yeah, that's all her, like her jam. I just love how well it fit in with the Korean food style.
Yeah.
Tell
us a little more about your mom's kimchi and how you work with that.
Yeah. Well, when we opened, I was obviously naturally my mom would make our kimchi. I think, you know, it's funny because every family has, you know, everybody's favorite kimchi is their mom's. Mm-hmm. So there's always like that war of the family's kimchi. But yeah, when we opened, she helped me with small batches, and I don't know. I still can't get that recipe from her because it's not a recipe, you know. It's like she like just it's how many years of making kimchi, and you have to like know, you know, how the cabbage is gonna react and how it's gonna ferment and what part of the year it is and how warm it is, you know. And there's just so much to it, and I'm trying to learn still. Yeah.
Do you have like facilities kind of built in for that at Hanok?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, you need the big containers and sinks to like wash these massive cases of huge heads of lettuce, or the cabbage. So yeah, that's been great. To cook with my mom has been incredible, especially, you know, because like I said, Korean food is a rediscovery for me. You know, I grew up in Eugene, Springfield area where there wasn't a lot of Korean food to have except for my parents cooking. And so when I moved to New York, it was like, you know, mind-blowing, eye-opening. And then further, when I went to LA, my wife is from LA, and so when we would visit a lot, and that was a whole nother world of Korean food that I had never experienced. So, you know, my mom is always sort of that reference point, and even like when I put a new dish on, whether it's in development or before I put it on, I always use my mom sort of as one end of the guide and my wife on the other. And then, you know, if the two of them like it, it's going to be pretty good, you know? And then I just make sure my cooks are into it because they're the ones that are going to be recreating it day in, day out.
Yeah, I think they have to like it, right?
Right, yeah. They got to believe in it too, you know? So, yeah.
What's unique about Portland as a food city? Obviously, it's a lot different from New York. Not a lot of people could have a restaurant in their house in New York because nobody has a house. But sort of beyond that, as far as, you know, is there anything specifically about Portland that's enabling you to do what you do?
I mean, for me specifically, the sort of community that's here. I know there's a lot of restaurants. It's a small world though, and I think if it weren't for people like Naomi Pomeroy, just like all the, you know, Joshua McFadden, these guys, they sort of, as soon as I moved here, they sort of took me under their wings kind of and showed me Portland in a way that really only they could. And Naomi especially, like when I first moved back, she, you know, I went and cooked at Beast for a little while, and she was the one that actually took me on this trip. She got an opportunity to go to Japan for a cooking thing, and she brought me along. And from that, I extended that trip to go to Korea for like 10 days, and my mom and my sister met me there. And so that, like, I mean, that really like helped launch Hanok as it is today, I think, because, you know, the trip to Japan was like the most culinarily eye-opening. It's food that I'd never seen before. It's like consecutively, like 5 consecutive days, I had the best meals of my life. And then like to think about that, and I don't know, to sort of having experienced that, and then going to Korea and, you know, seeing the food there, and just figuring out how I'm going to do that professionally as a cook. Yeah, that's I think, you know, what helped launch Hanok as it is today. But, you know, that sort of camaraderie, the way that the chefs sort of, you know, the tight-knit community that there is here, I think that's pretty special.
Do you have a really memorable, like, single bite from your time in Japan that sticks out?
Oh boy, I'm the worst. I can't remember anything. I always have to take a picture and take a note. But sushi, oh boy, I don't know. It's just every bite was so incredible. I honestly, I would have to look back at notes. I don't remember any one thing specifically.
What's your favorite thing to do in your limited off time in Portland?
We spend as much time with the kids as possible. Well, like Elliot's now in school, so he's spending most of the day at pre-K. But yeah, it's family time. It's always like my brother and his family, their kids are a couple years older, and so, Elliot would rather hang out with them than anybody. So it's just meeting up with family and hanging out. Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's the best. Yeah, and they're close.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. I really appreciate you coming out to hang out in our beautiful Airstream trailer today. Peter Cho, thanks for being on Heritage Radio Network on tour. And we look forward to seeing you hopefully on your next trip to Brooklyn. You got to come have pizza with us.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be there. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks again to Travel Portland, Stream PDX, and the Julia Child Foundation for Gastronomy and the Culinary Arts for making our coverage possible. And thanks a lot to Aaron for being our engineer today. We will be back in just a few moments.